Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, can you please start this?
Aligning with the main theme of the conference, which is visualizing the Met beyond 2020, we're focusing on how the downscaling of the Green Deal and the mission on climate neutral cities can benefit the Mediterranean. And of course, what are the challenges? And more, what are the barriers? For this, and Anastasia will explain later, we have issued a dedicated questionnaire to all the participants of the conference, including the scientific committee. We had a good number of replies. We have analyzed this, and as a first part of this session, we will present the results. We will give feedback to the panel for discussion, and the moderator, Annalisa, which I will introduce later, will take it from there and guide our discussion. Now, Anastasia, you have the chair to present the results of the questionnaire.
Okay, I'll try to be short. Chrysses has already introduced our idea, which was that if you want to identify what are the barriers appearing in the context of implementing the Green Deal, and more specific, the mission for climate neutral and smart cities, you have to go to the right persons who have a good idea of the area, who have feelings about the area, who are the politicians handling issues about the area, both from the northern part and the south part, because for us, Mediterranean is a whole. It's not separated to EU and non-EU, although all these political things are there, of course, and there are a lot of barriers that need to be handled in order to look at this region in an integrated way. We should follow an integrated way, because if I am polluting, Egypt can do nothing. Okay, we have to cooperate in order to find common solutions to our common sea. So this is the idea, that we have to go participatory. So a first step in this participatory process was this questionnaire. Most of you know the structure of this questionnaire. That's why I will not say many things about that. And the next step, just to filter this discussion, but also motivate the panel discussion here, and give ideas, give keywords or whatever to think and interact and fight and agree or disagree, is this step, the panel discussion. So we try to circulate this questionnaire. We've got 81 responses. Of course, this is not a good sample. It's a bit biased, because most of people are from the Mediterranean EU, due to the structure of the conference and the participation at that time. It is gender well balanced from the gender point of view. It's not well balanced from the profession, because academics prevail in this and academics are a bit more theoretical, and so. Okay, I stop here. And also, it's good in terms of age structure, let's say. So keeping these constraints in mind, we had a questionnaire consisting of 6 parts. The 4 are the main parts, with issues that we considered, studying also the Green Deal and the mission. Having our own knowledge, because we are working on relative fields, we try to structure this. We have 4 main fields, that is resilience, sustainable management of a number of sectors which are quite important for the Mediterranean, like tourism, like transport, land or marine transport, like fishery or whatever. And then to focus on the spatial peculiarities, we say we need some different way of approaching. Why? Because we are different, because we have different spatial attributes, different cultural attributes. And of course, issues like contemporary planning approaches and governance, which are keywords for dealing with all these future perspectives put on the table by you are issues that we had to see somehow where we are. And then we had some personal information. Of course, these are anonymous questionnaires, and we try to get from everyone 3 keywords when saying Mediterranean. What are the 3 most important words coming in mind? I will go quickly through the issues raised in each of these themes. You can see them. Most of you are already aware of them. You have responded to this questionnaire, so I don't go into detail. I would rather stress my attention to the results. And also, we had a list of barriers. So what we asked from the respondents is, please rate, prioritize the most important things as key issues in each of the themes, and the most important barriers, the 3 most important, that come out from your knowledge, from your experience, and so on. We've got, I'll show you 3 pictures in order to feed the discussion. Concerning the theme A and the key issues, we see that environmental resilience lies first in the view of respondents, followed by health, which of course in the COVID era is very important, and employment is really important for the Mediterranean, and we can understand the reasons behind that. Lack of governance is always first. In all 4 themes, lack of governance is the most important barrier for implementing any kind of EU strategies, at least the 2 we are discussing in this conference in the Mediterranean. Limited funding is not always the first one, but it's always there. And also always there is the lack of cooperation and synergies creation. We have to communicate, we have to interact and find the synergies. In theme B, expected issues are energy, transport, and so on. And on the other hand, speaking of the barriers, we have, again, the lack of governance as the prevailing feature barrier, and the limited funding, and the rest you see in this transparency. Theme C, the spatial peculiarities of the Mediterranean region. Here, I would like to stress your attention, because we are talking about a region where urban sprawl is a big problem, where territorial imbalances and inequalities is really a big problem, where coastal cities and the challenges related to integrated coastal zone management for several decades now is on the table. Insularity. We have 50% of the islands of the Mediterranean are under the Greek state. This means that we should shed light on these areas too, because they are suffering from insularity drawbacks, and we should give some kind of priority when thinking about Mediterranean on the islands also. And you see also the barriers on the left hand. Lack of governance still remains the main barrier in this theme too. And the last one, relating to planning issues and governance, strengthening community awareness and engagement is first. We don't know, citizens do not know what comes from our politicians, from our government, from the local government, and so on. There is a mistrust. So there are many problems there. We have to approach in a different way. We have to come closer. We have to explain. We have to to gain their trust in order to bring them on board in this very difficult but very challenging also trip, which is the mission for the Mediterranean. You see also the rest of the issues. I don't want to spend more time on that. What I would like to say is this picture, you will see much more issues than those that come from the questionnaire, and you will see keywords that really shed light on maritime issues, on insularity issues, on the land sea interaction, on a number of themes that are not quite evident in the previous responses. So for this discussion, I would like to leave this cloud world mapping of the Mediterranean just to make click to everybody on specific issues. And closing this presentation, what we tried to do, just to give food for thought in this discussion, is to put on the one hand the pillars of the mission, trying to decode the text of the Green Deal and the mission for climate neutral cities. These are the most important issues already raised by Laura this morning, by Maria Vasilakou also, by Catherine also. And on the other hand, we have put all kinds of barriers that relate to these key issues of the strategies, of the European strategies, trying to see or verify or gain more insight from our expert panel about these issues. So by closing this discussion, I would like to say that this is a coin with a two-sided coin. The one side is how we can feed discussion of the mission with the peculiarities of the Mediterranean in order this to be somehow taken into account, and maybe some things could be seen in a rather different way, or stress the importance of several issues for the Mediterranean. The other side is for our, let's say, government, politicians, local government, people who will somehow plan this trip, this journey to missions and Green Deal's implementation. What you should overcome if you want really to have the potential, the capacity, or whatever, the strength to succeed in all these specific requirements these strategies imply. So I will stop here. You can follow your chair increases, but I would like to leave this transparency just for inspiring you.
Thank you, Anastasia. And for the next part, which is the expert panel discussion, I would like to invite Annalisa Boni, who will moderate the discussion. Annalisa is a General Secretary of Eurocities and also rapporteur for the EU Commission Board on Climate Neutral and Smart Cities. Annalisa, you have the floor, and I will kindly ask you also to introduce the rest of the panelists and continue the discussion.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anastasia, for this introduction, and it was really useful and inspiring. An exercise that I don't think other countries have actually done since the mission has been launched. Can you hear me well? Yeah, okay. So thanks a lot to Anastasia and also Chrysses for inviting me to be the moderator of this debate, of this session. Yes, I'm the Secretary General of Eurocities and the rapporteur of the mission board that designed the concept of the mission of 100 climate neutral cities for, by 2030, for and by the citizens. As you've heard also from Maria Vasilakou, who has explained a lot about it. But I am above all a Mediterranean. I'm Italian, and even if I'm married to a British and lived in many other non-Italian cities, this is my land and my culture. So for me, it's a real honor to be here with you and to contribute, even if it's just, a little brick in the wall, to help Mediterranean cities to be part of this adventure of moving as fast as possible to climate neutrality. You have a lot to offer to Europe in terms of potential for climate neutrality, and it's really about making this a mission for the entire area, for all its institutional and non-institutional actors, and of course, its people. Okay, so let's get to this fantastic panel of expert speakers that you've managed to line up here. Congratulations. See them sitting there, and some are in the cyberspace, yeah? So maybe we can call each of you and I can say the name and you can say, yes, I'm here. So at least we see the faces and it makes it a little bit more human, yeah? Okay, so at least I can introduce you meanwhile. So you will excuse my pronunciation, because even if I've done Greek and Latin, but Greek at school, the pronunciation is another story. So Eftimios Bakogiannis, urban transport planner, assistant professor, general secretary of spatial planning and urban environment in the Ministry of Greece of Environment, a lot of titles. Are you there?
Chrysses. Unfortunately, Mr. Bakogiannis is not
Is the one who intervened at the beginning?
Not even online, yes.
Okay.
He was busy in the ministry and he apologizes.
Okay, so I will go on with the list I have, if you don't mind, and then you will say the same for other people if they're not there. Is that okay? Yes. Okay, so Evangelos Bekiaris, the director of the CERT, Hellenic Institute of Transport. Are you there? Yes, I can see you. Very well, great. So, first representative of the research community would say. Yasser Gaber Desuki, is he there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everyone.
Being called by someone else. So, Professor, Dean of Scientific Research and Innovation in the Arab Academy for Science and Technology and Maritime Transport in Egypt. So
yes, this is true.
Great, thank you. So, Nicolaides Lambroriorgos, Senior Account Manager in Cisco?
Also,
not there.
Nicolaides is not here, no.
Okay. Chrysses Potu, yes, I saw her online, professor at the university in Athens, Working Party on Land Administration. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, I've seen you, but I can't see you now. Eccola, that's it. Thank you and welcome. Danielle, I saw Danielle Termont, former mayor of the city of Ghent, and I have to say, I'm very proud to say, former president of Eurocities, and a newly, let's say, quite recent and unfortunately only recent member of our mission board.
Yes,
You're there. Yes, great. Hello, Daniel. Vasiliki Vasilopoulou, is she there? No?
Vasiliki Vasilopoulou is here face to face.
Ah, okay. Sorry, because
I'm
I
right
couldn't
here.
see. I
Hello.
couldn't. Okay, great. Yeah. Sorry, but I couldn't see the. This is what the COVID time is making us do, not see people. But still, research director at the Hellenic Center for Marine Research. Thank you for being here. And last but not least, Victoria Jimenez from the Union of the Mediterranean Secretariat.
I'm here. Yes.
Yes, okay. So everyone is there. Wow. And everyone connected well, no issues. Okay, very well. So basically, I have to say, I've never moderated such an extra large panel with, I thought 8 speakers, but now at 6, so it becomes more human in less than an hour, I have to say. But anyway, let's go for it. And let's make it our mission to, for each of you to be brief, clear, and to the point, and as captivating as possible. Yes? Thumbs up? Great. Okay, so I propose to do it in this way. I'd like to start with one of the questions that is stemming out of the report, the interesting report that Anastasia presented. The same question to all of you, so we can do a round, and each of you can give an answer of a few minutes, a couple of minutes, and let's see how it works and how long it takes, and then we continue that way. Okay? So the first question, I would say, as I said, comes out from the report. But also from the interventions that I followed in the plenary this morning from Laura, Maria, and Catherine, all of them. They put it on the table. And let me come to that. What comes out very clearly is that for me, and all the discussion I've heard, is that the issue of financial resources is the real issue, is what we call the elephant in the room, yeah, for such a big transformation for a city. How much money, from where, private, public, no. But there is another animal in the room, and I would like to quote Chrysses, like a giraffe, that is as big as an elephant, but it's less, visible, and it's taken less seriously as a key challenge, I would like to say, by policymakers or at least it's taken as a less big and visible challenge. And here I'm talking about the issue of governance. As you've heard from Anastasia, this is the first challenge that has emerged. What type of innovative governance is needed for a city to become climate neutral, to transform itself in the way that is needed? If you have the financing, but you don't have the right governance model, then the money can get wasted and doesn't have impacts. So in this respect, I would say there are many aspects related to governance. We could talk forever about it, but it's, if we can wrap it up, it's the way of conceiving the transformation. It has to be systemic, as Catherine said it very clearly. It can't be sectorial. It's the way in which you organize the administration, consequently, for instance. It's the way in which you work with your partners in the local level, in the city level. It's the way in which you work with the other levels of governance. So, these are many things. And it's also the way in which you work with your citizens. And that's where I would like to start for our first round, to focus on for this first round. The report talks about challenges in the Mediterranean that are about lack of participation culture in decision-making processes, a participation that is more of a consultation, like ticking the box, kind of thing. You must do it, but it's not a real, embedded approach, with working with citizens and producing a real added value for the implementation of policies. Not everywhere, in any case. A lack of citizens' custom and education and awareness, to be able to play a role, or to feel that you can play a role and you should actually play a role. And if you do play a role, you can make the difference. So a lot of these questions have emerged. So I would say, what can you say about this? What is your view, and how would you, what is the way forward for you? So maybe we can start from what we said before. So you said the Bakoyannis is not there. Evangelos. Can we call everyone by the first name? Do you mind?
Yes, please call me Angelos. Okay, thank you very much.
Evangelos, and we know each other. We've met at the mission board, Evangelos. Okay, Evangelos, do you want to have a first go?
Yes. So what I should say is that this is generally a big problem for smart and clean cities, but especially for the Mediterranean area, because here we have the local government and the general government, and we have, for example, in Greece, the mayor and the prefecture, and they don't always agree. Then there are many things that are in the ministries, and usually it's more than one ministry that are involved. The utilities are also central. So there must be an extra layer of coordination. For this, I'm a member of the High Committee of Greece for Research and Innovation, and we are discussing within this committee and with the ministry to make it a national initiative, to make it one of our major national priorities with extra coordination funding and scheme from the government, and also involvement of everybody in preparation of our, let's say, cities which are national champions. I think this might be a model for at least the European, the Mediterranean area, because here the governance is really clustered. Thank you.
Super, very down to the point. Okay, and Yasser?
Hello. Yes, I'm actually coming. My background is I'm coming from Egypt, from the Mediterranean city and Alexandria, and I have been around in Europe and like in places like in Italy and Spain and Croatia and even in Tunisia and Morocco. And from my experience with these cities, I can say that fairly that the Mediterranean background are very common. If you visit any of these countries, in Greece as well, I cannot forget Greece. You feel that you have the same atmosphere, you have the same, even the civilization of people all around. So in Egypt we have another experience that in Alexandria, for example, it's very crowded. It's becoming very crowded now. I have some pictures for Alexandria. 40 years ago, it was more beautiful than it is now, unfortunately. So I think what happened is the expansion of Alexandria with time was not planned very well. The result for that, we are becoming, the cities are very crowded, the streets are very crowded. So when the government actually tried to shift that into a new city near Alexandria, for example, it built a city called Alamein. It's about 100 kilometers far from Alexandria, and it offered these buildings to the society to shift. But we came up with another challenge, which was actually we have in Egypt different culture than in Europe. I have been living in Europe for 4 years. I know that in Europe it's very common that if you arrive, reach 18 or 20 years, you can be separated totally from your family and you have your own life. But in Egypt, it's very different. We like and we used to live with each other, right? So what happened is when the government shifted the building and built a new city near Alexandria, few people actually reacted to live in this city because of the culture. And this is a point I'm making. This is a challenge. If you like to make a new city, you have to take into account all the factors of the culture of the people. Something like this model I've been talking about. It didn't take into account the nature of the culture of the people. They are electing to separate from their families. They used to live as families.
Yasser, thank you. I just want to say that
but it was not successful for 100%.
Yasser, just to interrupt, can we please try to keep the timing, because we
I have finished my point.
and we have a short duration.
I finished my point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yasser. I think the point was that there isn't a one fit for all solution everywhere in terms of governance and participation models. Nicolaides, no, he's not there. So Chrysses.
She's mute.
Chrysses, can you unmute yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't worry, it's typical. We all do it.
But it is unmuted. Can you hear me now? Okay. So good. My experience is derived from my activity in the Greater European Union region is the UNECE region and the Balkan region. So there we have faced the problem of informal development and the urban sprawl. So what is the major problem there in terms of financial resources is that we have initiated projects for formalization of these self-made cities there. And the projects, as we have identified, are not fit for purpose and are not affordable. So what we emphasize through our experience from UNECE and WPLA, Working Party on Land Administration, is that countries should focus on developing strategies, how to develop fit-for-purpose formalization projects in order to clear out the property titling of these informal constructions and allow them for registration, for mortgaging, and access to financing, so that all kinds of improvements of these self-made cities could be financed through that way and unblock the capital that it is actually dead capital there in all these informal constructions, so that people can make improvements, energy improvements, stability improvements, neighborhood improvements, environmental improvements. It is very important. In my country, for example, 1 every 5 constructions, 1 every 4 constructions is without any permit. So it is unregistered still. It's all missing information. So this is very important, I think, if we are talking about improvements in terms of climate change. And I want to emphasize this. And we have also published guidelines for formalization of informal constructions that are applicable for EU countries in the greater region of EU. And we believe that also these guidelines could be applicable also to other Mediterranean countries that they suffer from urban sprawl and informal development. And instead of building new cities somewhere else, it is better to focus on how we will regenerate these cities, because there is all the activity, the financial activity, the cultural issues, and people live there. But we need to improve these cities. And how can we improve these cities? We should have a total mindset change. This is the important thing. Political will and mindset change. So that we can integrate all these cities into the formal economy and unlock the wealth for the people, as Hernando de Soto said, and allow them to have access to capital, access to credit, access to financing. This is very important thing. And I can give you the link where you can find the guidelines, because there it's useful information how people can and politicians can build the political support in order to do what is needed to be done. And I have some more also, but I think that maybe later.
Yeah, I'm just finding that, yeah, I mean, the idea was to also not only have an opening statement on how you can improve or how can you get to climate neutrality in different countries of the Mediterranean, but more really about the governance. So, you know, how, but in this get more about, you know, how do people participate, why people don't participate, why people are not part of the policy making. But it's true that you're talking about here mindset change. And in a way, if we change the mindset also of politicians and of people and so on, then you get to another, you know, type of process and democratic process and so on.
Yes, and to create incentives to people so that they can participate, to see that it is something useful for the people.
With a clear meaningfulness for them.
And we, as experts, as geospatial experts, what we need to do is to provide our expertise for governments to show with evidence-based data what is the cost of inaction. This is very important thing. What is the cost of inaction, and to be able to price to rate the projects, all kind of projects, for example, planning, road planning, housing projects, water infrastructure, agricultural patterns, forestry, coastal zone management, to be able to rate the projects in terms of resilience. What is the cost of inacting?
Very clear. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so Daniel, I know you have a great experience, like Leuven in a way, on citizens' participation during your long mandate. What do you think? What's your view? What should cities do?
Yeah, Lisa, good day, everybody. Indeed, you mentioned a lot of things in your introduction, of course, and we can talk about an hour on all these things, but I will briefly give you some ideas. And after what I heard already this morning, I'm indeed also very convinced that the cities in the Mediterranean are confronted with other problems than the cities in the north. So when it comes on which priority do we have to give to the fight against climate change, perhaps there are more and bigger problems in some of the cities in the south of Europe than it is the fact in the north of Europe. But anyhow, you may put it as you want. Every time and everywhere you will see that the basic of the policy in fighting against climate change is everywhere the same. And that basic is what Chrysses also said, you have to believe in it. You have to have a conviction that we can indeed change this climate, and that indeed we have to do something. One of the points I saw, and that's very important, I think, also for the south of Europe, is the rising of the sea. Everybody see every day, unfortunately, we saw what's happened now in the south of France and in Italy with the weather. Everybody, I think, has to be convinced that we have to do something on it. Indeed, the elephant in the room is the finance, but even if we find the money, if we can get the money, you also have to work with that money on a reasonable way. And you have to find solutions that indeed that you don't throw the money out of the window, but that you find solutions that are really structured and that are for the future. Another problem is also that there is a technical problem. A lot of cities have their own budget. And even if they get a lot of money, let's say from Europe, from the European Bank, or even investing from private sector, you have to find a way. How do you find a solution for, because you cannot put it in the budget of the city. So you have to find something. And one of the solutions we saw this morning from Katrien is indeed the solution of Leuven. Another problem, of course, is the governance. I am convinced that every city has its own DNA, and every city has its city government that they deserve because they elected for it. And it's much more difficult to find a solution to work directly with the inhabitants than it is. It is easier, I think, to find a solution between two or three parties who are in the majority and they make an agreement and then say to the citizens, we're going to do it like this and like this. That's not good. I'm so convinced that you only can find a solution for the climate change and find answers if you work together with your citizens. And that means that you have to work for a bottom-up instead than a top-down solution. It's not good that one government, is it the federal government, the local government, say to the people, we have to do it like this. No, you have to find solutions together with your citizens. And that's the reason also why we have put so many effort and importance on the collaboration with the citizens. And you saw the solution from Leuven, but other solutions are, and even Mediterranean cities can do this. Start tomorrow with asking to every inhabitant of your city, every citizens, give me solutions. And take every solution serious. Even if you we have some solutions where we have to laugh with it, but you have to give an answer why you can do things and why you cannot do things. And there I think that's a kind of spirit that there has to be by the local government in the first place, I think, and also, of course, together with regional or federal government, because we are looking also, of course, very forward, and I hope that in every country it will be possible that all the cities who are coming with solutions can work together with the federal or regional government. I have a lot of other ideas, but I'm going to stop here, Annalisa.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Of course, you touched a lot of the elements of governance, as I said in my introduction. So thank you, Vasiliki.
Yes, hello. From my side, I'm really very happy to be here. I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation. Probably I'm the only natural scientist in the room, so I think I have, let's say, a say for the ecosystem and the environment, probably more than the others. But having said that, I would like to say that I'm not sure which is, let's say, the elephant or the giraffe, being it, the financial stuff or the governmental. The point is that they are both very, very important. Actually, my feeling is, at least from my experience, dealing with maritime issues, and I have a fisheries background, fisheries research background, and also dealing with the Marine Strategy Framework Directive and Maritime Spatial Planning Directive. Well, it seems that there is a very big fragmentation in approaches, in governmental approaches. This is a huge issue. I would like to say that I was really very, let's say, inspired by some of the talks this morning, and especially what I heard from Mrs. Vasilaki, saying that we definitely need a new system of, let's say, management governance, like an orchestra governance, meaning that we do need to integrate, which is not really happening at the moment. Unfortunately, as I said during the coffee break, it was really, puzzling me during, a certain meeting, that there were people from the same ministry, the Ministry of Environment from Greece, and actually there were people, representing environmental issues, which are on the fourth floor, and other people dealing with spatial issues, spatial planning issues, which are on the third floor, and they didn't know each other, And actually, the point is that maritime spatial planning has to take into account outcomes from the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, and this is not really happening. So just, I don't want to sound, negative, but I think that this is really crucial. We need to go forward with better integration. Having said that, I think that also financial issues need to change. The approaches need to change, because for the moment, the current practice, emphasizes more or less on short-term financial performances, right? And then we're talking about sustainability. What is actually sustainability? We need to make sure, a clear definition for everybody, because nowadays, sustainability is really analyzed through the lens of investments and monetary outcomes. But, we all agree, I believe that we shouldn't ignore non-monetary values. And many of the ecosystem services that are produced are intangible and are non-monetary. And definitely there are movements nowadays, of changing the economic theory and moving more towards, ecosystem services. But of course, there is this ecological financial theory, which is underway in the frame of the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network, following this agenda of 2030, so on and so forth. So definitely there are ways forward, but these are very complicated issues, and there's a lot of effort that should be placed to actually change, not the way, citizens think, but governments and also, financial analysts and people who are behind those very crucial, let's say, spots. And I'll be back.
Perfect. Very, very, very interesting, very inspiring. Victoria is the last of the round.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I will, if I may, I will perhaps start by explaining briefly what the Union for the Mediterranean is, for those of you who are not familiar with that organization. and will continue afterwards. The Union for the Mediterranean is an intergovernmental organization. As such, we work mainly, and our activities are addressed to national governments. We are part of the EU neighborhood policy, and we have 43 member states, including 28 EU and 15 Mediterranean ones. We work very close with the Commission, and our objective is to promote cooperation between EU and non-EU member states. That's why I am particularly interested about the international dimension of the mission that Maria referred to, and I will come back to her about that very soon. It's true that in the Mediterranean we find very different realities, but it's also true that we have common challenges, and I would say that the challenge right now is climate change. Climate change has no boundaries. As someone has said before, what happens in Egypt affects to Greece, and what happens in Morocco to Spain, and so forth and so on. But despite the fact that the Mediterranean is warming 20% faster than the global average, we don't have those impacting visual images as when we see the fires in California or the tropical storms I don't know where. So I think that the lack of these impact images, these impacting images, leads to perhaps to a lack of awareness and a lack of political commitment. So I think that sessions like this one helps and contributes to spread the message that we have to act, and that everybody has to act. So I think that now with the European Green Deal, everybody is talking about that. So I think that once the message would have reached all the levels of governance, like the national level, the regional level, and the local level, it will be easier for them to work together and to put the strategies in place, because it's obvious that all the levels of government has to work aligned in the same way that all the ministries or all the divisions in city councils and at national or regional governments have to work aligned. So I think that perhaps the hope is that once the message would have reached everybody will be convinced and we could work together.
I feel I'm sorry I missed the last minute, a few seconds. What did you say at the end?
I just say that perhaps what we need to achieve is we need to have all the levels of governance in a vertical and horizontal way convinced of the message, and that will for sure contribute to implement concrete policies and projects that will improve the governance, let's say.
Yes, definitely. We said it already at the beginning, and it confirms what is, the normal, the sort of experience of everybody. So I mean, I feel that we can move to another round, but a lot of you have put a lot of things on the table. But if we want to stay maybe on the governance level, because it's still what as appeared in the report, the real issue. Maybe we can look at another. It's at another approach to it, in the sense of saying, how do you work with other stakeholders like the private sector? How do you work with industry? How do you work with, you know, again, trying to push a little bit further this bottom-up approach? I'd like to go back to it because we're looking at different things, but it doesn't really come out on how in the Mediterranean we could do that. We have heard from Belgium, you know, but yeah, what kind of wider collaborations, what kind of synergies can we look at that could work? Because, okay, it's very clear it's the sort of quality of governance between, you know, different, for instance, ministries, so at the national level, between themselves, at the vertical level, it's all. But very concretely, the only one that has proposed something is Evangelos, who said, okay, let's create a coordination, another level, a coordination tool, let's say. But yeah, more, let's expand on that. Let's come with more concrete examples or ways forward. Let's see what comes out from each of you. Let's start again. Maybe Evangelos, you want to go a bit further?
Yes.
For instance, what you talked about was more coordination among structures, but you didn't mention how would you include citizens, for instance?
Let me give you an example. I think an example speaks better. And I would like to make another point, which is quite relevant also to the questionnaire, which is which area is important. We have seen that somebody says energy, transport, and so on. And then also who coordinates and how. It's all coming together. Give you an example. Micro mobility, e-scooters might be a solution for transport, but it's not transport. And it's not private, because it is run by private companies. Because you need to have clean energy for it, you need to have recycled energy, and you need to have a good support from the utility that provides the clean energy, which is usually public or could be private. Then you need telematics, because you need the fleet to be monitored. And in many cases, in Salonika, for example, scooters that were not monitored were thrown to the sea. Thrown to the sea means they have leakage of the water, which causes a problem to the water, which again is public, but this is coming from private and from people using them. And even worse, at the end of the day, after 6 to 18 months, they are changed, they are thrown away. So they need to be recyclable. Who is going to recycle them? The industry. But you need to have this support of the industry, you need to have the industry there to be able to recycle them. So you need legislation, and actually in Greece these days, the legislation on micromobility is going through the parliament, and I'm very happy about it because my institute has been providing input to the government for that. And then you need someone to police it, and you need the industry to have initiatives, and you need to train the citizen. Anything we take, anything, any part of the smart and clean cities has the same. It is a chain that everybody should play its role, like you said, the orchestra in the morning. And this is any part that is missing, the thing is collapsing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, Yasser or Chrysses? Yasser, do you want to add to that from your perspective? Maybe go to Chrysses. Meanwhile,
yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
In terms of monitoring of implementation of regulations, we can very much rely on automated procedures and technical developments that technicians can, technical people, and we as geospatial experts can provide. So monitoring of implementation is very important, and also we can use volunteer geographic information and crowdsourcing techniques so that we can involve citizens into the governance. and they can help in providing information where something is happening, where we need to intervene, and the contribution of crowdsourcing is very, very important in good governance. I'm not sure how well familiar you are in this, but we have a lot of applications in this field. For example, from the very simple to have citizens inform the government, the local authorities that here you have to come and collect some garbage or some motorcycles that they are in the water and all that, up to having volunteers and citizens participating into major projects, major government projects. And I think that people, if they have the feeling that they are included in the whole project, then they are willing to participate, and they can see that their effort and their energy, it has some positive results. And this is very, very important for every citizen to feel that he participates, she participates. Yes.
Yes, good point, good point. It's really about what's in it for me, at the same time saying, okay, what I do has an impact. What I do counts. It makes a difference.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I can change the world, and we can be change agents.
Yes, completely. Yes, and Daniel, again, on the governance to go a bit deeper.
Yeah, you asked for some concrete projects and possibilities. I think I could give you 100, but we have to search for things that every city, also the cities in the south of Europe, can is useful. One of the things that when I was a mayor, I have done and was very successfully is we made a plan for our city, what we're going to do to be climate neutral in 2050. And we started already more than 10 years ago. And with that plan, we started a climate alliance, as we called it. What did we do? We asked of course, everybody in the city, because it's already said this morning, it is a horizontal responsibility. It's not in vertical responsibility that you have to think for these things. You have to think in a holistic way. So what did we do? We asked to the business, to all the enterprises in the city, will you please take part of our plan, and can you give us some more ideas what you want to do? We asked also the unions, because it's also a social affair. It can be a social conflict if you don't handle it well. We asked the university, the scientific world, all the professors. We have a big university. We have more than 75,000 students in our city, in the university and the higher schools. We asked them all for proposals. We asked them to read our ideas and to put their own proposals. We asked the midfield society in our city, the organizations who are working with vulnerable people, who are working with poor people, who are working with refugees, and so on and so on. We tried to involve really everybody, and also, of course, directly all the citizens themselves. We received hundreds and hundreds of proposals, and then we looked what we could do with it. Everybody received a personal answer on his or her proposal, and we came together with all those organizations, and we signed an agreement with a very big plan of all the points that we want to realize. That's one of the first thing that every city can do who wants to do something about it, because I can imagine that cities who haven't worked on this field practically are now confronted with the questions: how do we have to handle this? What do we have to do as first step? That might be one of the first steps that every city can do. And as I told already, every city has its own DNA. Every city will do this on his way or her way, and everybody can do this on his way and on the speed that he or she wants. Second concrete possibility that has a lot of success in our city, we started with small houses to renovate them and to make them climate neutral. And we invest in these houses. So we made a whole suburb together, we put them together, and we invest a lot of money of the city that we put in those houses. So that means we put things in the roof that the energy stay in the home. We put double glass in the windows. Sometimes we offer them new doors, and that costs us indeed a couple of €100,000. But what did we do? We say, if you sell your house, or if there's someone who innovates your house, then you have to pay back the money. At the moment, there's the value the more value that we put in the house, they have to pay it back at the moment that they sell their house, that they leave their house, or the moment that their children take over that house. So that means that this way we made a revolving fund, so that we can reuse the same money to do further. So we work 3,000 houses per year. That's perhaps not so many, but if you have every year 3,000, 4,000 houses that you can renovate and protect against loss of energy, I think you make big steps forward. And a third point I can give you is that for instance, you make rules in your city where you say from tomorrow, every new building has to be climate neutral, or you don't get a permission to build that building. That's very clear. That's clear. And from tomorrow, you start already with new buildings who are climate neutral. We did it in our city. There was a lot of protest because they say, it's going to be, the prices are too high for the people, and so on and so on. Believe me, it's not the case. These are the words of those who want to build and who want to get money out of what they are doing, but take a little bit of their profit and use that little bit of profit for the climate change, and you will have results. But you have to dare it to do it, and we did it. These are 3 examples, but there are a lot more to give, of course.
Extremely useful, very practical, and it's really about incentives as well, and both the democracy, but also like an economic model in a way. Thank you very much.
Cannot hear you.
Oh, sorry. If you had to be part of this, making a plan for one of the Greek cities, for instance, or another city as part of academia and so on, would you be part of that? Are you already part of that? Are you, how do you contribute? How would you contribute if you had to be, part of such a group of people like Daniel has described? Vasiliki, did you hear what I said?
I guess I missed a bit of,
Okay. Basically, Daniel told us, in Ghent, we had a plan. We decided to put together a plan, to construct a plan with a lot of different types of actors. And among these, there were academia, researchers, and people like yourselves. So are you part of such groups in Greece? Does it happen? Or if it's not you, other people from academia, does it happen? How does it work? How would you see your contribution to such a plan? I mean,
Yes,
is it feasible in the Mediterranean? Is it possible?
Yes. Well, let me say that from my experience working, with fisheries for quite some time and interacting with fishers, let me say first of all that each and every time we go to them asking questions about how they feel, in relation to policies and fishery resources management and so on. What they say to us, most of them, they try to be polite, but some really are speaking quite frankly, saying that, okay, please don't waste our time. You're coming here every time, and then nothing of what we ever say or bring up front is never actually used by, the policymakers. So I think that this says a lot, Annalisa. In fact, we've particularly nowadays trying to work, under this maritime spatial planning umbrella, which actually includes all different, let's say, sectors, or tries to do so. There are issues related, to power, for example. And as you said, we need incentives to bring those people on board. So what I think is very crucial is that it's a matter of political will. Nobody is going to come and, sit around a table if they're not, either going to win something out of it. I mean having some sort of an incentive, or, the administrators say that you need to be there to discuss, with the other sectors. By themselves, they usually are not interested in joining in this kind of conversation, because the more powerful ones, have the game towards their side, so they're not interested in discussing with the other sectors. But also, having said that, something that it is really very, very important is that everybody who needs to sit around the table, the actors that you mentioned, covering different action arenas, and of course citizens are also included in there. Once you have them around the table, you need to have this awareness building of what we're talking about, because we all need, after all, to be on the same page. I'm probably more familiar with environmental issues and impacts of, from different pressures on the environment and this kind of stuff. But then the others know things that I'm not aware of. So we need some sort of creating awareness, skills development, and then starting the negotiations of how we should move things forward. I guess that this is really very crucial if we really want to draw credible strategies and, relevant policies. That's my impression.
Totally agree. Yes.
Annalisa,
Yeah,
can
we need
I
to finish,
just mention a very interesting discussion? We can all talk for hours, but the session is coming to an end. We have 5 minutes to go.
Yes.
Probably Victoria can finish this second round of questions, and then closing.
Then we can wrap up. Yeah.
Wrap up.
Yeah, Victoria, how would you like to conclude this round on governance?
I would like that I have a bit the same impression that my predecessors. We are based in Barcelona, and I have seen some attempts of participation process of the city council here or the regional government, and at the end of the day, you have the feeling that the administration themselves, they are not going to take that into account, that it's just something that they do because they have the obligation or because someone has told them to do so. And I think that the citizens have the same impression, and because they have this impression, they don't participate that much. So perhaps it's a road that we all have to go through. We at the UFM, we are currently finalizing our action plan that will prioritize our activities in the coming years. We have done that with the support of the School of Architecture of Delft in the Netherlands. And I guess that they have this more Northern European mindset. And one of the chapters of the action plan is devoted to participation. And I'm a bit skeptical about that. I'm thinking, well, what are we going? It's obvious that we have to work on that because now, well, it's a requirement. So sooner or later, Mediterranean countries will have to start that road. But it's true that at this moment it's a huge challenge. When seeing the presentation of Leuven, it's true that it's fantastic. But I would say that our reality is that we are far, far behind that point. So let's see if we can. The good thing is that we have seen where the others are already. So perhaps it will be easier for us to reach them because they have already tested the procedures, and that could be helpful. But I see like a huge, well, there's a lot of work to do in terms of transfer of knowledge between the northern and southern European countries, well, and the neighborhood, Mediterranean countries as such.
Yes. So just to, I mean, in terms of wrapping up, and then I would like to ask one last thing very quickly. What comes out from this both rounds is that that governance, in the sense that we have, sorry, I have my little kids that has not gone to school who is screaming behind. So the governance issues is really the number one challenge, right? It confirms the report in a way. And so that there is a lot of work to do there at all levels in terms of systemic approach, in terms of orchestration needs, in terms of, you know, integrated planning, in terms of multi-level governance and also national governance, change of mindset, incentives, what's in it for me, for people to say, we want to participate, you know, role of also ICT that can be interesting and so on. So there's a lot that needs to be explored, that needs to be done fast. And so what I would suggest as a final thing, I would like each of the speakers to come with one word that like gives hope and opens up future opportunities. If you had to say, okay, let's take this word in terms of we're going to do that. Yeah. One sentence or one word. If it's too difficult, one word, then a small sentence, really like 1 second. So maybe we can start from the end with Victoria.
Perhaps in terms of governance, I would say academia, because I see it as the easiest way for civil society to take an active role in the designing of policies.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Vasiliki?
One word, collaboration,
Yes.
I guess.
Clear. Daniel?
Well, I want to misuse this point to do a proposal, and I did it already in the mission board. I think we have to make a central point in Europe where every city can find examples for other cities. If I hear Victoria, I'm convinced that a lot of cities need some more information and practical examples. And that might be a possibility, as I proposed, or the Secretariat of the Mission Board, or Eurocities can take this task.
Thank you, Daniel. Just to clarify, we have a working group on citizens' participation and governance, but it's for the members. And in Greece, we have Thessaloniki and Athens. Actually, Athens was leading it. So, yeah, just to say. Chrysses?
I just want to urge you a little bit to add in your list of keywords or key sentences an advice to the politicians in terms of financial resources. Activate the debt capital that is trapped in informal constructions in the Mediterranean region. It is very important. Make this debt capital into a productive capital. Give people access to credit. This is very important.
Thank you. Yasser, I think, has disappeared, has left. And so, Evangelos, you want to conclude as the last one? You're the last.
My word is integration. Integration on the different levels of the local and general government, between the different stakeholder groups, but also between the sectors. Let's think out of the box and integrate. Thanks.
Yes, I think we've all heard a lot, and but it boils down to one thing: we need to work on it. And you know, like in Italy, we say, "Put up your sleeves and start working," and we're all there to do.
Okay, at this point, I would like to thank you, Annalisa, for undertaking this role in a online situation as a moderator of this session. I would like also to thank all the panelists. I think it was very interesting discussion, although as Daniel said, we could need few more hours to express all the ideas. it was interesting, I think, to have the Union for the Mediterranean, which, as Victoria said, is the link between the North and the South Mediterranean, and also happy to have Yasser as the only one representing non-EU Mediterranean, but I don't think he managed to keep his connection until the end. Now, we have a few minutes. We have some participants here in case there is one or two questions or even a question from the panelists. Otherwise, we will move to the final presentations for this session. Any questions? Okay. Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Annalisa. And,
Bye.